Welcome to ZBTR TV.
The goal is to unearth and document the Zambian narrative in the best way possible.
Catch us live every Saturday on Facebook and YouTube.
We broadcast every Saturday at 10 a.m. EST, 7 a.m. PT.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
Be part of our journey. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
The ZBTR TV show.
Did you know? Less than 10% of our viewers are subscribed. Don't miss out. Be part of the community. Mark your calendars. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Flow live.
Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ZBTR TV. It is Saturday, 2nd May 2026. We are exactly just about 3 plus few days, months before Zambia goes to the polls on August 13th. Critical time that we are living in. I want you to tag a friend, let them know that ZBTR is live, and we have a very serious discussion today, and we have a guest that is going to address some of these issues. My good old friend, brother, and so many other things I can say about him. But before we do that, I want you to know that our country needs every citizen's engagement. Our country needs you to pay attention to what is going on. Our country, Zambia, is at a critical, pivotal time where everyone, I know the registration process for you to vote is gone and past, but guard your registration card. That's what we are about to do today, to talk about the democratic process, the path to the 2026 elections, and everything that concerns and is related to that. All right. My guest today is a seasoned lawyer, a political strategist, and a widely regarded kingmaker in Zambia's political landscape. Most of you may not know that he was actually campaign manager for late President Michael Sata, and he played a pivotal role in getting late president as well. Sadly, ECL also to get into the presidency, okay? In 2021, he played a significant role in ushering in the current government led by Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND. Now he's positioning himself to challenge that very government. Interesting scenario here, right? Let's welcome my dear brother, President of Zambia Must Prosper, and Mr. President, welcome. Yes. Do you know what this reminds me? This reminds me of when Kelvin Fube became Prime Minister, and you know they had that, yes, and then they had that's the relationship with Charles Mando. So Charles Mando says to Kelvin, I know you remember, that's why you're laughing. So at the beginning of the interview, Charles Mando says, so I don't know, should I call you Mr. Prime Minister or Kelvin? That was a good one. KBF, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Everybody is doing good. How is everybody on your side? I know before we went live, you were telling me that everybody left the house. It's just you and my sister.
Yeah, it's time to reboot.
I like that. Time to reboot, right? Time to reboot. Everybody, what I love about me talking to Mr. Bwalya is that he's a lawyer. He's not just a lawyer, but he's been practicing law for 30 what?
40 now.
Oh, wait.
40 years.
There you go. 40 years. So I'm going to sort of invoke your legal aspect of things on many of my questions so that we can understand, because the constitution here also is on the line, is at stake. We need to understand a lot of constitutional matters. As a lawyer, my brother, what does Zambian law say about repatriation of a body when the family disagrees? Who has the final legal authority? Before we even talk about ECL's issue, what does the constitution just say about this matter?
Well, first of all, let me say that there is no law in Zambia that regulates the burial of a late president in this country.
Okay.
What we have, however, are protocols, or you can say regulations, or a tradition that has emerged over the years. For those people that may be young and may not be aware, maybe a bit of history. We've had 7 presidents thus far. 6 of them have died. Out of the 6, only 2 presidents died in this country. The late President Kenneth David Kaunda, our first Republican president, Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba, our second Republican president. Zambia.
Okay.
The rest of the presidents died outside this country. To put that in context,
that's an interesting. I'm glad you brought that out. That's a very interesting concept there, which I never even thought about.
The third Republican president, Barupia Banda, Mwanawasa, France. The 4th Republican president, Barupia Banda, died in Egypt. The 5th Republican president, Michael Chilufyasata, London. The 6th Republican president, Edgar Chagwalungu, died in South Africa. So there is nothing new about a president of the Republic of Zambia dying outside the jurisdiction of this country. We've done this before as a nation, and we've repatriated the bodies of our late presidents back into this country. Like I said, there is no actual law that regulates the burial of a late president. However, the government of the day, after the first death that we encountered, decided that Embassy Park will be used as a burial site for our presidents when they die. But we are Africans and we are Zambians in particular. So Ubuntu is required. In other words, the family of the deceased president always has to play a pivotal role as to how the remains of the late president will be put to rest. I think those who are older and like history like myself, you will recall that when the late President Mwanawasa died in France, he was first of all attending some conference in Egypt, then he fell sick, he was being flown to France. When he died, the wife, the first lady then, Maureen Mwanawasa, flew back to Zambia to come and negotiate and discuss with the government of the day, the MMD, and then agreed how her late husband's remains were going to be repatriated and brought back here. It was easier then because being in government, his vice president then, Barupia Banda, presided over that funeral. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to give this historical expose because sometimes people think when things like ECL happens, like we haven't been down this road. We have. We have transported the remains of late presidents and brought them back, but not once has a government, a sitting government, ever been at loggerheads with the family as much as we are now with the UPND against ECL's remains. And part of that is because towards the end of his life, I began engaging the late president, ECL. He called me and we reconciled, we discussed a lot of issues, but it became clear, even from his public pronouncements, that he was so hurt and so disappointed with the UPND government that he decided that, God forbid, but if I died, I do not want this particular president to preside over my funeral. Not that the government must not be involved, but he said Hakainde Hichilema must not preside over his funeral. That at least he made clear. And that's where we are now.
What was he hurt about? You said he said to you he was so hurt about this government. What was he hurt about?
When the president lost power, he handed over power graciously. Like any Democrat, he agreed that he had lost elections. We all went to Hero Stadium. Hakainde Hichilema was handed over power.
Yes.
It became Hakainde Hichilema's one very difficult assignment, but one he kept at heart. He wanted to punish ECL, and he wanted to ensure that he dismantled the PF. Hakainde's drive has always been that the PF had arrested him 15 times plus when he was in the opposition. And because of that, he was always bitter and he was always against anything to do with the PF.
Should burial disputes of former heads of state be resolved by courts, tradition, which you mentioned in your preamble to say there's no law, but we have protocols and traditions, or new legislation? Should we enact some law to give guidance to this process, Mr. President?
Thank you for that important question. Well, in my considered opinion, having been through what we've been now, I would suggest very strongly that we probably need legislation to make it clear as to how we're going to bury our late presidents when that time comes. The reason for it, Nathan, is because, well, what we have learned over this 10 months with the ECL situation is that the relationship between the president, a former president, or a president before he dies, and the current president is very, very personal. And in relation to Hakainde Hichilema and ECL, it was almost at a point where they couldn't see eye to eye, they couldn't talk to each other. Although, when he briefly retired out of politics, ECL made it clear that he was available to be consulted, he was available to give advice, and he was available for the sake of the country to help the nation. Hakainde Hichilema did not accept that. That bitterness that he carried, that the PF, when they were in power, had arrested him 15 times, he carried into the presidency. He did not get into the seat of, now he's the father of the nation. And that's the problem. So for me, it would be better right now to have legislation. And I'll give an example. In South Africa, for example, the law is very clear. The state can come in, but the final say is with the family.
Yes.
I think we realized when the late Deputy President David Mabuza died recently, the state came in, but at a certain point, the family said the state will end here and we shall take over. And Mabuza was buried wherever he was buried in his home village. I know that Tanzania has got legislation as to how they bury late presidents. So the state takes over and things like that happen. So in Zambia, like I said, we have traditions. So it will be better to have a law so that it's clear for the family. What's more, we who are vying for public office, we must understand that once you become president, you are no longer just a property of your family, especially if you touch the office of president. You are an institution by yourself, but more importantly, you are the property of the state because you were commander-in-chief, you are the president, you represented the government, you represented your political party, and all these are, and you might have built relations and networks across SADC, the country, I mean the continent and the world. So
That's
all
right.
those people would like to come and mourn you. So it's no longer a private matter, it's public. But how you conduct that funeral, the family must never, ever be pushed aside. Otherwise, again, Ubuntu say, Chalakan.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. You've explained very well. I think the bottom line or the key to this matter is just to have a legislation enacted, how we move forward, because we learn from the same mistakes, right?
Yeah.
We learn
Yes.
from mistakes.
Very
Like
true.
I said, I don't want us to take so much time on the issue of late ECL, but it's an unfortunate situation. I hope we come to a closure to this.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah,
That's
very
good.
unfortunate. Okay, I want us to switch gears to this. Okay.
Yes.
They must carry the headline to say KBF warns ECZ bosses, you risk jail if you gift UPND more constituencies unfairly. On the electoral process, KBF, my first question is, the president needs 50% plus 50 plus 1 to win. Can the opposition reach that threshold in 2026 without a single presidential candidate?
It will be almost impossible if we are going to split votes to reach that threshold. Because all of us must understand that 50 plus 1 is quite a huge assignment. But I don't want to discourage the Zambians and especially those in the diaspora as well. Even the UPND today cannot master 50 plus 1.
Okay.
Their party is in disarray. Their party is in confusion. The UPND does not know whether they are coming or going. There are internal wrangles within the UPND. But if we as an opposition were to put our heads together and agree on a single candidate, yes, we can thrash the UPND one time at the first attempt.
As things are looking now, there's a report, I have it somewhere here, and I know you're aware of this. Is it 25 candidates that have indicated that they want to?
Let me just explain there, Vanathan.
Okay, please. That's the reason of this conversation.
When we attended the ECZ meeting as political parties, I think there were about 80 plus political parties who attended, and roughly give and take 40 plus presidents of sorts. Some of them obviously not as, as serious as we would want or would have wanted the discussions to be.
Yes.
However, what is important here is to understand that the UPND, one of its main tactics throughout their tenure of office has been to dislodge, sow seeds of confusion, and decapitate the opposition. And some of those people we were with at Mulungushi were sponsored to come and dilute the seriousness of the discussion. Back to your question. Right now, we have close to between 15 and 18 people that have paid the 100,000 nomination fee.
To who?
That in itself.
To ECZ?
However, yes.
Okay.
That in itself, however, does not mean all of them will be on the ballot. There are things that have to be considered. And some of those things will require now a sieving process. Legalities have to be taken into account. And also, we have to understand that the ECZ, through the Office of the Registrar of Societies, will have to come together and put up a threshold.
Okay.
So what they told us when we went to the meeting was, this is a timetable. by the 29th, if you want your supporters to be pre-processed, please follow me,
Very important.
in the
Very
provinces,
important.
in the provinces, you must pay your nomination fee by the 29th. What does this mean? In other words, every candidate who expresses interest to stand, when he pays 100,000 kwacha, he then signals the ECZ that he would like his 100 supporters from each 100 set of 100 from each of the 10 provinces, meaning 1,000 people who are supporting his candidature, to be pre-processed by the ECZ in their various localities, meaning to northern, to southern, to central, like that.
And all those.
Yes. The difficulty is, if you don't pay this 100,000, it will mean on the day of nomination, you have to bring 1,000 people for the ECZ to process here in Lusaka, but they must come from the various provinces. Why? Because they want to show under Article 100 that you've got national representation by 100 of the voters in that province supporting you, a minimum. So those that haven't paid, there could be others who haven't paid, they will have to transport their supporters to Lusaka for the ECZ to process here. But those of us who have paid, what we are now going to tell the ECZ is, on this particular day, which I choose, I am going to tell my supporters in the various 10 provinces for your officers to go and pre-process these 100 supporters to me, meaning I am now fulfilling part of Article 100 of the Constitution, that I've got 1,000 supporters across the country.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because it was a little bit confusing to say, I thought the ECZ, like the ECZ timeline or itinerary indicates that candidates will be processed on this day, and you are given a time and date, right? That KB Zambia Must Prosper must come on Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Yes.
So it was confusing to say, but why are people paying right now? So you've made it very clear.
Thank you.
You've made it very clear. For the 2026 parliamentary seats elected by, there's this phrase in the electoral process, first past the post, which basically means simple majority, right? Is that right?
Yes.
What's stopping the opposition from splitting the vote and handing UPND wins with 35% on the parliamentary seats?
On the parliamentary seats. Well, first of all, if you've got experience in elections as much as some of us have, you will note that when parliament is dissolved, a lot of things come into play. Some of the UPND officials, meaning members of parliament, may not be re-adopted. So they would like somewhere to go. So there will be a lot of games there. Second, the UPND right now, in terms of its performance in the 5 years that they've ruled this country, the Zambians have come to believe UPND has failed on majority of their promises, if not all of them, especially to do with the economy. So the UPND is basically suffering. They are going to hemorrhage by way of members of parliament. Secondly, the members of parliament who are wanting to come in anew, they also need somewhere to go. We are aware that the UPND is receiving applications, but when they receive applications, they're getting the certificates of the candidates to be, and they're holding on to them because they don't want some of those who won't be adopted on UPND ticket to go to other political parties. In other words, they are differentializing them. Others who may not want to fall into that trap may go independent. So there is no guarantee that the UPND is going to have that majority so easily. No. Because some people, even in Southern Province, Western Province, Northwestern Province, part of Central Province, which they claim to be their stronghold, have realized that standing on the UPND ticket is a risk because it's not as popular as it used to be in 2021. So that
some people, sorry for interrupting you, some people have suspected or speculated that that's why they did the delimitation.
Correct. Very true. That's why Bill 7 was passed. In fact, one of the major provinces which got the majority of the delimited new constituencies is the Southern Province, part of Western Province, because they realized that even in the Eastern Province, why? Because they realized that they wanted to give a second chance to some of those old members of parliament who've been in parliament 20 years, and some of them running to 25 years in parliament, to have a second chance, because they realized going by the old constituencies, the people are not going to vote for them. But our research indicates that even with that delimitation, even in deep Southern Province, people had disillusioned with the UPND. What they expected in terms of performance by this president and his party, they have not reached. They have not yet succeeded. So people are saying, look, it's time to move away from the UPND because it's a risk standing on the UPND ticket right now.
Wow. How do you explain the defections from PF MPs to UPND based on the point you've just made?
Thank you very much. If you know anything about politics leading to where Hakainde Hichilema got into power and what he has done thus far, you will note that most of the people who are defecting today, according to our intelligence and information on the ground, and some of it is in the public domain, most of them have got criminal cases pending. So they are scared. They are trying to buy their immunity by joining the UPND or defecting to the UPND. Some of them have abused CDF funds, and therefore they might have criminal cases pending. But the other thing is the PF, who were the majority opposition political party, did not also give enough comfort to most of the MPs because they lacked leadership. There was a lot of wranglings, a lot of internal strife within the PF. So people began to think, hey, hang on, where am I going to go here? But our position is, look, the PF has been a target by the UPND. Hakainde Hichilema's main thrust, and part of the reason why he has failed to deliver on the economic front, he wasted too much time trying to destroy the PF. He's wasted so much in terms of resources in that aspect, and he has failed to deliver on the economic front. So that's the problem. These three reasons for me are why people are defecting to the PF, to the UPND. But the comfort is this. Even if they are defecting, the people on the ground are telling them, Ukomwaya, we're not moving with you. And this, I am very happy to report that at least we know that the PF structures have more or less remained intact. And we know that the partyless Zambians, who are the majority, those that don't belong to political parties, those people that just stand on the fence, they have lost so much confidence in the UPND. So that is what is giving us hope.
Interesting. All right. Before we continue our conversation, let's take a short break here. I want to promote a young entrepreneur in Zambia doing
no problem.
Some amazing work.
It's your girl Joyce, popularly known as Rejoice, the portrait maker. Guess what? I am here to show the surprise, as I said during an interview, so that there is a surprise for Pastor Nathan Nkama that I will be reviewing in just a few days. So here is the portrait that I did for Pastor Nkama and his wife. Look at how beautiful this portrait is looking. And get to be with us as he also would do the video with the portrait immediately when he received this portrait. Thank you for watching. It's your girl Joyce, popularly known as Rejoice, the portrait maker. Guess what?
All right. You all remember that is it 2 weeks ago, I hosted that young lady on this show, and she needs a commercial printer to do that kind of work that she's doing. Joyce is not asking for a handout from the government. She just needs support to build and to boost her business. That is encouraging. And I'm glad that my guest today is very strong on youth, on the youth programs. I'm going to allow him to talk about that. KBF, that young girl came on this show. She didn't mention anything about the government. She's just persisted and pushed through life to make a living for herself. So I've created a GoFundMe on the ZBTR TV Facebook page. Please go there. Let's support Joyce and make a contribution to help her buy her own printer. And she wants to create jobs and employ other youths. That's the reason I'm doing this. Her story touched me and encouraged me. And I supported her. She didn't do that portrait you see of me and my wife. I paid for it. She wanted to do, she wanted to do a complimentary portrait for me. I said, no, I am going to pay for it. That's the only way I'm going to support you. So everybody, go to the ZBTR TV Facebook page. We've created a GoFund link there. We want to buy Joyce a printing machine. All right. My guest today is President of Zambia Must Prosper, Mr. Kelvin Fube Bwalya, popularly known as KBF. And we continue this conversation. If you've got any questions, you can post them there. So outside Lusaka, where is your strongest base to win constituencies and secure parliamentary numbers?
We're everywhere, Vanathan. We're everywhere. If you know that I'm a political animal. My father was a politician and, you know, friends with your father as well. So we have learned the ropes from the late Kapwepwe and the UPP days up to now. So we don't just concentrate on one place. No, we are everywhere. I am glad to report that we have candidates vying to stand on Zambia Must Prosper across the country. You'll be shocked that in places where you may not think Zambia Must Prosper is, we have already infiltrated. Why? Tubombange mfuko ifwe. Tuingira panshi. Tuaimba. Tuayafika noko abantu walite expect. You know, during the youth celebrations and Women's Day celebrations somewhere in March this year, people were shocked to find the t-shirts of the party and my portrait on there. As far as the Ukereng in Northwestern Province, as far as Chavuma, Zambezi, as far as Shangobo, they were saying, how did you get there? I said, we know these things and we can plan because we've been there. We know how to plan. So we are strong everywhere. We are, however, willing to listen to our friends and engage and then see how we can come up with the best candidates and ensure that we come up with the strongest team to beat the UPND, because that unity is needed. Throughout, it is needed. And I'm glad to report on your program that my colleagues and I are engaged in a lot of conversations. And we're talking every day, we're talking every other day, and we are very, very serious about this. Because for us, the country comes first.
Very important, very important. The 2026 bill lets ECZ suspend candidates or parties. How would that impact parliamentary races versus the 50+1 presidential race?
Well, the electoral process bill of 2026 is not exactly a new bill per se. Some of the things the Electoral Commission of Zambia was able to do even in previous elections. But the ECZ will not suspend candidates or political parties nilly-willy. You must do something serious for the ECZ to suspend you. For example, I don't know what election that was. I think it was 2016. Yeah, I think 2016. The PF and the UPND, or one of them, got suspended somewhere here in Lusaka and Southern Province for a period of close to 10 days because of violence. So It is up to us as politicians, as leaders, to educate our people, especially by youth. You know, kubeba fiati uluguli fiko. We have
Yeah.
a statement in Zambia must prosper, especially to the youths. We say, kulwa nobongo. By youth, kulwa nobongo. We don't want our youth engaged in
I
physical
like
violence.
that. I like that. Kurwa no wrong.
Yeah, right. So as long as you're not engaged in fraud, you're not engaged in fights, physical issues and things, I don't see any reason why the ECZ must suspend you. But we are aware that we must have our youths as our security. We must have our youth as protecting some of our leaders, because the UPND has already begun to hear footsteps in the background. And they're very, very scared. And they're going to be the violent party. Right now, they are showing propensities of violence.
Yeah, because the concern is that do you anticipate, based on the way the PF was treated? Remember when the parliament was dissolved, there was that time, that process when some PF cabinet ministers, I believe, continued serving. Do you anticipate a scenario like this in this government, or in this when the parliament is dissolved in a few weeks or in a few days?
Unfortunately, no. Why? Because the law, the Constitutional Court was able to pronounce itself on that matter. And there is a judgment, a court judgment, that is very clear. And as you know, the Constitutional Court in Zambia is the apex of any constitutional interpretation. So once a decision is made, there's no appeal. So once Parliament is dissolved, it doesn't matter what statute is in place. The Constitutional Court has already ruled that ministers cannot remain in office. And if that were to happen, obviously we'll be rushing to court to ensure that any minister who is going to be in office will be cited for contempt, but also we will apply to ECZ that he be disqualified out of the race, because then he's using government resources, which is an unfair advantage on his part.
Whilst on this matter, do you subscribe to the notion that ministers, ZMP ministers, should not, the constitution should be changed so that the president has the right to choose ministers from non-parliamentarians? Do you subscribe to that thought? Because it creates, let me add on something, because I think it creates a vacuum in the operations, and you are a seasoned politician. You can answer this. I know you are going to answer this well. The argument is that it creates a vacuum when the cabinet ministers cannot function. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. We must always be very careful when we talk about government to Anathan. Government is not the politicians. Let me stress that. Government is not the politicians. Government is the permanent secretaries, the directors, deputy directors, and other people who run the institutions, the ministries. The politicians come and go, but government remains.
Yes, yes.
So we must not mix or get to think that a political party in power is the government. No. They are just going to superintend by bringing in their policies, their manifesto, and then the government will say, okay, how do you want us to help you execute this, which is in your manifesto? Let me put it to you this way so that maybe people can understand.
Yes.
The PF, when it was in power, it came up with its own policies, its own manifesto. So they went to the civil servants and they said, this is what we want to do. The civil servants then asked themselves, how does government operate? Government operates on 1, protocols, 2, government regulations, 3, the law, 4, statutes, 5, seculars. This is how government runs. So whatever manifesto a political party comes with, it must fall in line with the law, with the regulations, with the protocols, with the seculars of government. If that needs to be changed, then you have to change the law. Otherwise, a civil servant will not do it. You remember, in the first 1-2 years of coming into power, Hakainde Hichilema kept saying, the government is slowing us down. The civil servants don't want to adapt. He did not understand the workings of government. Wututu. You understand? Ukukana ishila, if a government teach to operate, the government officials will say, boss, this is your manifesto. But the law, the regulation, the protocols say this. So change this so that I can do what you want me to do.
Okay.
So we must first of all agree, a political party is not the government. The government is permanent secretary, directors, and other going down. Governments come, political parties come and go. That is why we are able to kick them out, but the government machinery continues. That is why, for instance, I am against ministers remaining in office, because that is not the government. The secretary to the cabinet runs the government.
Yes.
So as long as the secretary to the cabinet is present, permanent secretaries in the ministries are present, the directors are there, assistant directors are there, the government will function. Salaries will be paid. Ministers don't sign checks for civil servants to be paid. The checks are signed by controlling officers. Who are these officers? Permanent secretaries. So we must distinguish that. It is the lack of education, the lack of understanding. It took the UPND 2.5 years to understand the workings of government. And this is disappointing, because this is a political party which was in opposition for 23 years plus. Who can I issue if you do? You understand? Why is Africa? You know, I want this done. Civil servant will tell you, Prime Minister, if you want this to be done, although it's against protocol or regulation, sign in here. Most ministers won't sign because they understand, now I'm abusing authority.
Yes.
So civil servants don't just do things. They always insist on regulation, protocols, statutes, SIs, seculars. Without that, a civil servant will not do it, no matter the pressure. And if he does it, the first thing is he's going to lodge a complaint.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Here's the question everybody has been waiting to hear. Okay. Yeah. Are you running for president?
Yes. I'm here. Straight to the point, Jonathan. How we are running, Rani?
You are running for president.
We are in the race. I'm here to correct the mistake we made in 2021. Hakainde Hichilema should not be in State House. He has messed up this country. That's the mistake we made.
There is this argument, I'm sure you've heard it, okay? More presidential candidates on the ballot, HH wins. One, if there are only 2 candidates on the ballot, HH loses. I want you to speak to that.
It's a very good argument to make. And we are going to get and cross that bridge once the final list comes out. Remember, the fact that 15 or 16 people have paid the 100,000 doesn't mean that all of them will be on the ballot.
Okay.
No. There are other qualifications that a presidential candidate has to meet. One, the Registrar of Societies has got a list of political parties. Yes. You must be a president of a political party to run on that political party. The Secretary General or the president of a political party must sign your nomination.
The secretary of the party.
Of the party on which you want to stand.
Yes.
Must sign your nomination. But also, the ECZ and the Registrar of Societies, when we were at Mulungushi as politicians, listening to them, it appears they are going to have some criteria of making sure that whoever is on the ballot is qualified and holding that position. Yes. Let me say that questions arise. Do you, as a political party, have a national character? This is under Article 60 of our Zambian constitution. Because you can't say I'm a president of a political party and your party is only found in Lusaka. Because in the 9 other provinces,
Yes.
who are you representing? You understand? You've got to have representation. That is why they require the 100 supporters to come from the 10 provinces. Each province must produce 100 minimum. At least you must show that. In addition, if you are the president of that political party, you must appear at the registrar of societies on the list of members so that they know that you are the president. And the Secretary General signing your nomination must appear at the registrar of societies, plus other things. So a lot of people may not meet that threshold. There's an argument also by Nathan. Some people are saying they might stand as independents.
That's a good, you just addressed the question I wanted to ask. They are going to stand as independents and they do not have a Secretary General to sign off like you have said.
So let me just educate my friends and those in the diaspora. Those who want to stand as independents, with the greatest respect, and I speak with my humble little experience as a lawyer, they're taking a very high risk. Why do I say that? They're taking a high risk because information reaching us is that we know from intelligence and other networks that we have, they are going to face legal challenges. Some people have been lined up. I won't say by who, but you can guess. They are going to go to court. To the Constitutional Court.
Lined up to do what?
To litigate, to sue those people who want to stand as independents. Because the first question they're going to ask is, you want to superintend over the affairs of a country as an independent presidential candidate. How accountable are you going to be? 1, to whom are you going to account? 3, where are you going to get your members of parliament? Because you must form government, cabinet. You must pass legislation. How are you going to pass the budget? So that we know already. There will be legal challenges. Now, if you look at the composition of the Constitutional Court, I don't need to tell you what the outcome of such a case will be. It's very simple. You can do the math. Naga in the Ichilema has packed the Constitutional Court with his appointees. So where do you think that result is going to go? So for me, it's a question of being mischievous by people trying to say, no, I can stand as an independent, trying to test the Constitution. Yes, you can test the Constitution, but I know what the likely result is going to be. When the Constitutional Court rules, that's final. That's the end of the story.
Part of the theme of this discussion, part of it is path to the 2026 general elections. What's the biggest risk in your view to a credible 2026 election?
Rigging.
Is that possible?
Yes.
How?
I've run elections. Lanathan, I've been running elections for a long time.
That's why I brought you here.
I want to say this to the Zambians here at home and the Zambians out there in the diaspora. Look, rigging of elections is not an event. It's a process. Rigging of elections does not occur just on the day of voting. No, it's a process. In other words, look at how the UPND has been structuring its electoral process. The passing of Bill 7, for example, even after the Constitutional Court said Bill 7 is an illegality, they pushed it. But do you know who let us down in Bill 7? The PF, opposition PF, they all voted for Bill 7. For one reason or the other, they can't convince me that they didn't vote. I looked at the numbers and I saw they let us down. Those people who are supposed to whip themselves into making sure Bill 7 fails, for one reason or the other, they let the Zambians down. Bill 7 passed. That, if you look at the contents of Bill 7, you begin to understand. And when you look at statements being made by Hakainde Hichilema as president, when he says, for example, if we didn't pass Bill 7, we're going to lose the 2026 elections, what does that mean? This is the president. No one asked him. He just makes a statement like that. You know, when you're doing something wrong, your subconscious talks to you and you let the cat out of the bag. So we're watching that. In addition, they're rushing the electoral process bill because inbuilt in there are things like Section 5, Section 37, Section 36, Section 35, which we know.
Address those sections for the sake of those who don't know what is in those sections. What is Section 5?
They may not be lawyers.
Okay, they need to go and do the search themselves. Okay,
exactly.
Man, go to Google and do the search.
You will find that in there, they are trying to build an argument which will favor the UPND. And in my opinion, my job as a strategist, my job as a politician is to counter that so that whatever we do, we now know. So we must block it from this side and that side. The reason I don't want to go into details is I'll be telling the UPND what my thinking and what our strategic planning is against that. I don't want. No, they think they are winning right now.
Like my President Trump says, no, I'm not telling you my strategy, right?
So they think they've got 3-4 steps ahead of us. No. We are working on countermeasures. And in this case, our fight will be asymmetrical. We are basically playing like Iran, okay? We want them to fire their best missiles, which are costing $4 million. We are only using the drones, which are costing us 20,000. So we'll make so but we are planning against that.
You are planning against that. Okay. Well, I don't know if you're able to answer my next questions because now you're putting me in a position where I'm like, why don't you, KBF, Makendi, Mundulire, Membe, and the whole list of other, I don't know who Sean Tembo's presidential candidate is, Nalavation.
Mutoto.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher the name. Okay. All these presidential candidates have
mentioned. Katotogwe. Yeah.
Okay.
He was running Tomorrow Investments, I think. I think so. Yeah.
So why don't you just all sit down rather than go through this process of hey, I'm supporters 1,000 shani no kulipirama 100 pini mureo na wala fenda lama, like somebody said. Now let me speak Mufrida English.
Yeah, Mujomo Kenyatta Avenue.
Mule wonchila muntu abika 100 pin shani asange 1 pin ama candidates. Why don't you all just sit down before the elections and say, gentlemen and ladies, let's come up with one candidate.
Right.
Don't give me the Trump answer here. I want you to explain.
No, I'll give you the details. It's a very important question, Vanathan. But look, it's not like we are not talking.
Okay.
We are talking. But I want to mention that part of the problem has been coming from Tonse and coming from the opposition side. A lot of our friends, especially those coming from the PF, they've always had it in their mind that they should be the ones to lead. And to them, unity means they should be in front. They should be leading. This is the difference between those that ECO has left and ECO himself. And I'm saying this with the greatest respect to the deceased president, because these are discussions we had.
Yeah.
What am I saying? Well, ECO realized that he was not going to be on the ballot. But ECO conceded when the Constitutional Court disqualified him and
Yes.
said you can't be on the ballot and you've run 2 times and that's the end. So when we began to have these conversations, ECL said, I know PF Nabanyonga, PF will not be on the ballot, and I know Iwe Kelvin, your friend will not allow anyone from PF to be on the ballot. That he considered.
Your friend meaning HH.
HH. Because he knew what the facts were. Now, when you run political races such as ECO ran, he understood that apatu Africa nomba nipadi bwana ndembululeni. It has become very difficult to educate, especially my young brothers, Mundubire, Makebi, and anyone coming from PF, that look, you have to come to this realization that come heaven, come sunshine.
Yes.
This guy will not allow PF on the ballot or anything similar to PF or any one of you that was in ECL's government.
Yes.
But not to go into so much details, slowly, I'm glad to report that they are beginning to see that, okay, limbifiana to Kosela. Hence, we have open dialogues, and some of the dialogues are not direct. Some have been direct, some have been one-on-ones, some have been groupings, and we are talking. We realize that we've got to save Zambia.
Okay.
But leading up to now, that has been the greatest problem, Anathan. It has taken my young brothers quite a bit of time to realize Limbinsha Kawepo. And that is the problem. But maybe now they are seeing. Because if you look at the nominations fees being paid, you have, for example, Mundubire. He pays and he says he might run as an independent. What does that mean? It means he has no special purpose vehicle, or if he was eyeing a special purpose vehicle, maybe somewhere along the line he has hit a brick wall. I don't want to discuss too much. You have my young brother Makebi, who said he's PF Pamosi. He went through some kind of elections. You understand?
Yes.
But now when he pays, he says he's paying under a political party called Resolute Party. Again, you realize that he's got a problem attaching the name PF to this.
To the candidacy.
Exactly. Then you've got Mao Sampa, who for one reason or the other, because of the ruling or judgment given by her leadership, Conceptua Zulu, says, I am now president of PF. I am giving the permission to Chitalu Chilufya to file as PF. But that in itself, again, has got a problem because that ruling of Judge Zulu in the High Court is on appeal in the Court of Appeal. But also, Chavinga, on the other side, claims he is the real PF who has already put up an injunction in the Kabwe High Court. So if you look at all this, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, I don't mean it in a bad way with my young brothers and everything. Like I said, we are talking now.
Yes.
I hope they realize that we don't have time.
Time.
Because vena, nombecha alipo chilecha kweba tinchitefi. Balambo kuma kufibumba. And the Zambians are thinking, some of us don't want to engage them. We have engaged. And we are still engaging. The problem is that realization which by ECO came up to, my young brothers, is taking a very slow time to come to. And that is the problem. But with God's prayers and programs like these and other people coming in who are a council of elders and other religious leaders, we are talking. So we are hopeful that they'll soon realize that we mean well. We understand what is at stake, and all we do is come together and move. But the flip side is this. In our discussions, at least all of us are agreed the UPND must go. At least that gives a bit of hope.
it's important for you to say this because, and I know you are aware, that the people are concerned. And you've heard one of your, I don't know whether I should even say this, whether it's all right or whatever, one of your, a very strong young man who is a PF, I mean, used to be close to, you took over his case. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
You took over his case,
yes.
because he has this issue, cyber, whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
The citizens are concerned that if our leaders don't seem to be together, then what is pertaining on the ground with the ordinary citizens? Okay, I'm glad everybody has been. There is a question here. Is KBF willing to step back and let another person be the candidate if the opposition agrees to unity under one candidate?
That has been put on the table, and from the people we are meeting with, we have all agreed. If push came to shovel, and you are not picked, that has to be the decision. Yes. In short,
you are willing to step aside.
We have agreed on that. The difficulty is whoever must take up the mantle must qualify and not be disqualified at the last minute.
Okay.
Because that possibility, with the way the UPND is running its elections and the way the Registrar of Societies is behaving, that possibility exists. And I want the Zambians to know that.
Okay, excellent. I have to take you back to the e-sale issue. I've just received the question here on text. I wish it was put up here so that we put it on the screen. If the heads of states come to attend the funeral, should the Zambian president, as the host, stay away from the funeral?
Like I said, it is a question of balancing between the needs of the state and the wishes of the family. If, for example, in this particular case, ECO made it very clear he doesn't want Hakainde Hichilema to superintend his funeral. Hakainde Hichilema must be magnanimous. He must be magnanimous and simply say, I will not attend. The vice president can represent him. The heads of state don't need to see Hakainde Hichilema for the funeral to proceed. He can delegate that responsibility. It's very easy. If this is not the first funeral Hakainde Hichilema will be missing. During the funeral, Yaba KK,
he was watching at home.
He was watching at home. So what's so different here? Why should he be there?
He wasn't president then. He wasn't president.
It doesn't matter. The point is, why should you make his life bitter and the family bitter in death? It doesn't make sense. In England, never go if I'm going to the vice president, tell I say, take a win for the day. I'll watch from home. And if you had done that a long time ago,
as we conclude, I want to bring in your legal expertise here.
Okay.
Balungu bali sosele yamashu yakwe bati doesn't want Hakainde near his body or funeral, whichever terminology applies. Shouldn't we, KBF, being a lawyer, I want you to speak to the Zambian people here, both at home and abroad. Shouldn't we, as a people, learn to put these things in writing? Don't you think it would have made a difference if there was a document vakateka nga balilandira ati Chilumendo ikalapa uliloe? I want you to put this in writing for me. Don't you think it would have made a difference?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because if you remember during the Mwanawasa funeral, I started by giving a bit of history.
Yes,
Mwanawasa wrote a will, and he expressed where he wanted to be buried. That was in his will.
Yeah.
But the family was sat down by the government and they said, look, he was just not your husband. He was just not the father of your children. He was the father of the nation. So the bigger picture is here.
Okay.
So in answer to your question, whether you put it in writing or not, as long as you've held that office, you must, and even if it applied to me, I'm signing up for this office. I must sit with my wife, my children, and say, Rani, but if this happens, that machine called government has got a say in it. But you sit with them and do this in the most amicable way. So, in answer to your question, you can put it in writing, but the tradition that has been established is that Zambians want to bury their presidents by giving them a state funeral. The only thing one can do, for example, and in this particular case, I want to be very specific, the relationship between the late Dr. Edgar Chagwa and Hakainde Hichilema, our president current, was not the best. And that is why it led to ECL saying, it's on record, it's on videos, he said it many times to many people, I don't want this guy to attend my funeral. So it is not like he needed to say it in writing. He said it even on video. Hakainde Hichilema is aware of that. So why can't he just stay away? Why can't he stay away?
Yeah, well, he claims well, I don't even want to go there, because for me, to be honest with you, I've never seen the complication about this. I don't, maybe it's the way you and me were raised and the way we think. You okay? But I'm African. I've never seen the complication about this. I have never seen.
Let's put it to you this way. I mean, come on, you and I, we come from the same town, and you know, umuntu ngakweba tuboina kufit wanchire kufua twale patikisha.
Na pe timu ya bola tawabepo.
Mamo, wajo inakuwa na white na ngwawe na wade na ngwawe na nani huko. Wafuma umuli the team. Why do you have to force yourself? Even if you're the commander in chief, you've got a vice president. You're not the only government. The vice president can represent the government. The secretary to the cabinet is government. The protocols are run by the secretary to the cabinet, not State House. So what is Hakainde talking about? No. When the president dies, secretary to the cabinet takes over, not even State House. The president, the former president who has died, is government trophy. It is the secretary of the cabinet's office that runs the budgets and everything else, not State House. So nishu kosho mtu. Tashawa mecho yo. Sorry, naina na kumufurida. Nika language.
I know, right? Charlie, we can't take it out of us. Okay?
Correct.
My brother, thank you so much. I need to make a point here that everybody needs to hear. I mean, I've reached out to maybe those who work with them, who are in their teams, Amondovile, Makebi. I've been trying to do everything possible for every candidate to come here and engage the diaspora. It's interesting that when I reached out to you, for you, it was just like, yeah, let's do it. Let me not go there and say finish Batina. I just want to say thank you, my brother, for doing this. And I figured that before it gets crazy busy with the campaign, I should have you here, because I know Pachiveru Shepo, that's when you're going to be really like deep in the campaign, in the nation. Yeah. I don't know whether we'll even be able to talk to you campaigning at Tampa, but thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Zambia Must Prosper President, Mr. Kelvin Fube Bwalya, popularly known as KBF.
Yeah.
All the best, my brother. Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That was our show for today. Mr. Kelvin Fube Bwalya, President of Zambia Must Prosper. You've heard for yourself what he has said. And it's important that we want to engage our political leaders so that we hear from them. All right. Team Unduvile, I'm waiting. Team Makebi, I'm waiting. Team Membe, I am waiting. And don't forget to subscribe to our page, ZBTR TV, on Facebook and on all the social media platforms. All right. Before we go, I still want to talk about this, okay? The young lady that I had 2 weeks ago, you remember the young lady I had 2 weeks ago? She's not asking for anything from government. She needs help to buy a machine so that, because the one she's using, she has to pay, she's, you know, for all those services and everything. If you want to support Joyce Nkata, go to our Facebook page, ZBTR TV. There's a GoFundMe page there, link, and you can donate. We want to help Joyce build her career, all right? Everybody, thank you. Next week, I'll be talking to a team of Zambian doctors who have developed an interesting, unique way of providing service online. Be tuned for that. Have a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll see you next week.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.